Hello and welcome to this YourPMO video. In this session we're going to be looking at methodology. So that's looking at the structures of the projects that you can run within YourPMO. And we have a number of different method templates, as we call them, and each of them defines a different type of project with different complexity and structure and documents and templates and materials included in it. So there's a number of these standards available for you to choose, and you can see here in my portfolio called methods I've got 7 different projects using the most common versions of the methods that are available. So we have what we call our n-step methods, which start with 1-step, 3-step, 4-step and 5-step. They're gradually more complex methods for gradually more complex project structures. And so each one includes a bit more documentation, a bit more process, a bit more structure for those increasing project complexities. We have a praxis framework, which is again a similar sort of waterfall type approach to project management. We have Scrum, practical Scrum, and also DSDM and Turn methods here for you to use. And then we have PPP, which is proposal preparation process, which you can use to support a tender exercise, for example, and has the documentation associated with those. So these projects are already created. When you want to create a new project, it's very straightforward. You come to Menu, Create Project. You choose the type of project you want from the Method Template tab. And you'll see these are the ones available that I've mentioned already. But when it comes to the n-step methods, there are actually 2 different versions available. There's what we call the I method, and that uses project in a box templates, planner files, and PABX templates, which you can edit live in the browser, and Excel as well. And then the non-I methods, which use Word templates instead of PABX files. So you've got 2 choices there, and we'll have a look at both of those as we go through this session. So you choose the method that you're interested in. In this case I might choose a 3-step I method. I give my project a name, so I'm going to call this example, and if I want to I can choose which portfolio I'm going to put it in. So I'm going to put it into my customer A portfolio like that. I just press create project and that's done. So when I come back to select project now and I look in my customer A portfolio, we've got a project called example. You see it's set up the project with all its documentation, and it's understood which sources of data it needs to use, and that data has been read into the database as well for me. So all that's set up, and I come here and I've got my 3-step method as we discussed, and the diagram lays out the steps from my process as well as giving me access to the other sort of materials that I might want to use. So we're going to have a little look through this one, then we're going to dip back into the portfolio and have a look at some of those other examples as well. So when we're navigating the methodology, it's simply point and click in these process areas here. So this is a 3-step. We've got a project concept phase at the very beginning, and then simple 3 steps to delivery. And this is as simple as we really think you can make a project. We have a 1-step, but that's about things that are generally below the level of a project. So if I click on project concept, it shows me the materials in the Explorer that are appropriate for that point in the process. This isn't a document library showing me everything for the project and I have to remember what to use in each circumstance. It's going to show me. So here I've got project mandate, which has got 1 file in it. Project mandate template, you'll see this is an I method, so it's a PABX file rather than a Word document. And if it can give me a preview of the file, it gives me a preview of the file. Now we'll preview the most commonly used files in projects. That's Word, Excel, PDF, images, websites, emails, our own files, PABX, and Planner. That generally covers 90% of the files that people use in their projects. So you'll get a preview of the file, and then if you want to work on the file, you'll be able to do that depending on the file type. So this is a PABX file, you can edit it live in the browser, so it gives me an edit button. If it was a Word file, I'd have to check it out and bring it down to work on it, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. So let's edit this file. You see it flips into edit mode, and I can now come in here and add some information about what I think is going on. I'll be able to copy and paste here, and obviously it's spell checking for me depending on the browser I'm using, etc. To save the changes to that, I just press save. The preview is always showing me the latest version of the file. Behind the scenes though, it's versioning it, so I can go back and look at earlier versions if I want to. I could take them out, I could email them to other people, etc. So that's working on that file. as I'm working on my concept and assembling my project mandate, what's likely to happen is, as well as working on the template, I'm going to be sent lots of information by colleagues to feed into this project. So I can do that nice and easily by using drag and drop here. So I press drag and drop. Let's just move this so I can see the desktop as well. And I can just add in the files that I need that people have sent me. So somebody sent me an email and an image, another image, and some Word files, etc. Just drag those onto there. You see, it takes copies of them, puts them in my project. Because, of course, templates are really important when you start your project. But by the time you get to the end, most of what you've got is accumulated materials. And so you'll need to be able to add them nice and easily. Now, once these files are in here, of course, I can have previews of them. I could potentially work on them. So I've got previews of all the sort of things we were talking about. Here's an email, etc. So it's just showing me that stuff pretty straightforwardly. Now, as I go through the process, it shows me the documents that are appropriate at that stage. So we're only at concept interested in project mandate assembly and somewhere to store the comms that we've been generating. If I come back to my main navigation, I could use the navigation from here to jump to 1, or in the sidebar here, it's got 1 as well, so I can jump to 1, which is start. And start now says, well, you've got the project mandate. You see, it gives me a hint and a tip here. This is the input from program or corporate, or we've assembled it ourselves during the concept phase. And it'll have all the latest available information for the mandate. It's showing me that again. I'm always seeing the latest versions of these things because it knows that that information is relevant in this process as well. And so is the comms. But now I've got other things I need to work on, like appointments and setting up daily logs and project controls and benefits, working my way through to producing a PID for this project. So it's laying all that out for me, and generally in the order in which you're going to progress through it: inputs at the top, outputs at the bottom. And so it's pretty straightforward to work through a standard approach to the project, working on the materials, collecting what you need to do, following the guidance, and working our way through the process steps. So we come to deliver, and now we're going to be interested in work packages and highlight reports and doing all that sort of day-to-day stuff that we would do in the delivery of our project. So that's how a method template works, how a methodology works within your PMO. It's got all those steps laid out for you. Of course, in the other sessions we talk about all the rest of the stuff, reporting and plans and risks and issues and things like that. But here we're focusing on just methodology. So I said we'd have a look at editing a Word file or a different type of file. So let's go and find one of those again. We had our very simple Word file here. And you see it says check out rather than edit. So when I check out, it gives me the chance to bring that file down to my desktop. So I'm going to open that file in my desktop like this, and it names it so I know exactly what I'm looking at: the project name, the file name, the version. No confusing which is the correct version of the file. You see it's checked out to me, and I can then open that file, and it opens in the associated application. It's a Word file, it opens in Word. I can then make some changes to it like that. Save, close, check back in. Obviously, to check it back in, I need to find that file to be able to upload it to the server again. So here we are, that's the file. And I'll check that in. And now, of course, our preview shows our changes, and our history shows the changes that we've made going back over a period of time. So it's really quite a straightforward process to work on the methodology, follow the method. Let's go and have a look at some of those other methods then. So in this portfolio here, we've got a range of different methods. We've already looked at a 3-step one. Let's go down a level and look at a 1-step. So like I say, we think a 3-step's about the simplest project model you can have: start, deliver, close. But there are lots of things that organisations do which aren't really fully fledged projects, but they are activities and they do need managing. And so that's the idea of the 1-step process. So this is just deliver. It's just got a couple of things. What am I supposed to be doing? What am I doing? Have I done it? And it's just a very simple place to collect all those. You can have as many of these things as you want to. It's just about accumulating all of that data in the same place. And you can, like I say, have many of these exercises if you want to. So that's a one-step method. A four-step method goes up from a three-step in that it has multiple delivery stages. So when your project becomes more complex, you can break down the delivery activity into blocks, and these are stages, and that the system manages that for you in terms of documentation structure. When we come and look at the next one up, which is a five-step method, this has the same element of repeatable stages, but we also have an additional direction process. This is for much more substantial projects. There's a lot more documentation and templates in here. For example, we split down separate risk issue registers and plans so that they can be managed by different people if need be, and permissions given to them differently. In a smaller project, they tend to all be managed by the same person. And there's a lot more material in here, so additional processes, additional materials to manage. And let's go back and look at the next one. So we've got, like I said, there's Word versions and iMethod versions of those as well. Then let's go and have a look at an Agile one. So this is a Praxis, this is a Praxis framework, which is using the Praxis framework methodology set for a smaller type project. And again, it's a similar sort of idea, waterfall, but it takes you through in a much more structured way than perhaps our standard methods do, and lays out the documentation a little bit more substantially documented. But the particular thing that's interesting about this is it's got lots of links back to guidance materials, so it's got a whole background behind it of materials that you can use to teach yourself how to deliver the projects. So now let's go and have a look at an Agile method. So this is Scrum. This is our practical Scrum method. It uses a traditional Scrum type approach and wraps it in a slightly more corporate launch and completion type model to make it a bit more acceptable for corporate environments. But the same thing applies. You click on here, you get the documentation that you might be supposed to be using in a particular sprint, like that, product backlogs and user stories and things like that. And then the other one we're going to look at is the PPP, proposal preparation process. This is taking you through the steps that you would need if you're going to be working on a proposal, identifying the opportunity, coming through, making a bid, no bid decision, what materials we're going to need, documenting that. So taking you through a fairly formalized way of managing, a large tender activity. So those are the different methods available to you. As you can see, they're pretty intuitive. Once you've worked on one, you'll find the rest of them fairly straightforward to follow. And you can choose whichever one you want, as many of those as you want, within a data allowance on your server. Okay, well, I hope you found that interesting. The next session we're going to be looking at is reporting. Thank you very much.